again. Those who joined for the first session. Yeah, I'm going to be opening it up to questions as we go along. So, but let me just do a very, very brief recap. So one of the things that, or the three key things that maybe you would have got out of last week's session is that aspect of our minds are very powerful. Our minds are more powerful than we think, and it's our own minds that sometimes fool us. An illustration of that was those dots that I used on that girl's face. Ellis, I don't know if you've had a chance to go back and try it again. But for most people, when you look at it, what it is, you look at someone's face and it's a negative picture in terms of it's black and white with the colored dots on the nose. And when you stare at it for a bit, then you look at your ceiling and the picture appears on your ceiling. And our minds are transferring it from the computer up to the ceiling and taking from black and white and putting it into color. That's just an illustration of how powerful our minds are and what we can do. Now, because our minds are so powerful, we can do things that might not be 100% accurate. So our minds actually fool us into believing that things might be true when they're not true. And again, I gave you the illustration of that with the length of the tables, where I showed you a couple of tables that were different, and maybe some circles, and looking at how they look. One circle looks bigger than the other one when they're the same size, just because it's relative to what we're comparing it to. And so I was building up this aspect of the mind so powerful, so maybe we can't rely 100% on what it is telling us, and maybe it gets influenced in slightly different ways that change the way that we see things. And our minds are very powerful because of where we come from as just the animal world of looking for danger. We're there to protect ourselves continually. The problem with that is that we are inbred to look for what can go wrong when we have to force ourselves maybe to look for what can go right. And what I'm going to do today is take you through quite a few examples, real life examples of how we're being persuaded, how we're being nudged, or maybe even shoved. And the difference between nudge and shove, nudge is a behavioral economics concept of pushing you to do something that's good for you, but also good for whoever's nudging you to do it. A shove is a term that I've come up with where I think it's something that should be a nudge, and they're shoving you to do something that's good for them, not good for you. And it's okay to be nudged. It's not great to be shoved. And so one of the ways of protecting ourselves maybe from this is that you become aware of what is being done. So the first thing is awareness. So I'm going to take you through quite a bit of awareness things just to show you how we're being either nudged or shoved or persuaded as things go. So what can we do to nudge ourselves to make better choices? So this is the second part of the talk. And what are some of those things and things that we maybe can put in place that we do make better decisions? Once you know something's wrong, sometimes we still make those mistakes, even though we don't want to make them. So what can we do from that aspect? So I don't know if you remember, don't know how long, this was pre the COVID crisis. We had the water crisis in Cape Town, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. It was on all the news stations around the world that Cape Town may be the first major city in the world to run out of water. I don't know if you guys remember that. And so there was a huge crisis. And in Cape Town, the hotels tried to put in place a number of things to nudge people not to use water. If any of you traveled during that time, maybe you want to just quickly unmute yourself and tell me, do you remember, or did you hear of any of the things that the hotels did that tried to get guests to use less water? Because if you live in Cape Town, obviously it's your concern. If you're visiting, people might say, I don't care. What did the hotels do? Is anyone aware of anything that the hotels did during this time?
They shut down half their rooms.
There was more the COVID. Yeah. So
they added devices to the taps. They actually put special devices on the taps. Some public places had like Coke water bottles with water inside, sort of dispensing a little bit of water. You couldn't turn on the tap, but you could sort of just squeeze the Coke bottle for some water. Those are the two things that I found when I was there during that time.
I know in my apartment block, they gave us a 20-litre container to put in the shower to catch the water while it was getting from cold to hot for showering, so you could reuse that water.
But didn't they also do something with in the hotels with the where they had swimming pools to recycle or remove the water around so that they could have a better flow and save water that way? There was something with that. I can't remember exactly what they did there.
Okay, Philip. Yeah. So some of these I've heard of, and others are brand new to me. So it's fantastic to hear more of these other things. And in Ellis's example of they gave him a bucket to collect water, they're not there checking that you're doing it, but they're nudging you. You know it's the right thing to do. They're actually helping you to do that by giving you the bucket, and then you can use that water for something else. Some of the other things I had heard of, and you mentioned it here, was they slowed the stream down. So they made, when you turned the tap on, it didn't come out as fast as before. Some hotels put signs in the foyer just telling everybody about it, hoping that's going to make a difference. One of the big things a lot of the hotels did is they removed the plug from the bath. They didn't tell you you're not allowed a bath, but they removed the plug. So when you came and you wanted a bath, you could phone down and they wouldn't send the plug up. You could go and get the plug yourself, but maybe it would be easier than just to shower. One of the hotels actually installed a light that as you turned on the water, it turned green. It was by the plug hole. And after 2 or 3 minutes, it turned red. Didn't change the water flow at all. It just gave you an indication of, hang on a second, just be aware of it. And those are classical nudges to do the right thing. There was even somebody created an app that you could take any song and put it in this app and it would condense it. You could say, play this song for 3 minutes, and it could change the speed so that it would play for 3 minutes. So as you get into the shower, you hit play, and by the time your song is finished, you know your 3 minutes is up. So there were a lot of innovative things like this. One of the best ones that I saw was this. So this was at the Radisson, just near the waterfront. In the foyer, as you walk in, they had a display of all these bottles of water, and they said, this is the average size of your bath, 110 liters, and this is how much water it consumes. So this gives you an absolute illustration of it. But we all know that it's important to have relativity. So they showed you this as well. A 2-minute shower is only 25 liters. Now, rather than have the numbers, 110 liters or 25 liters, to have the picture in your mind of what it actually looks like, and then that aspect of relativity, to have them side by side, this was incredible. So you come in, there's a talk about water, but they say to you, please, we'd prefer if you shower rather than bath. This is how much water a bath takes. This is how much water a 2-minute shower takes. And again, it just gives you, and it prompts you to do the right thing. And for me, this is classic behavioral economics. It's to show you the difference, and it's to nudge you to do the right thing. It might not be maybe 100% the right thing for you. You might want to lie in the bath for hours, etc., but it's right thing for the environment. And this is how behavioral economics should be used. And it should be used in a way that's creative, and it's not just words. Okay. So I thought this was fantastic. This is an illustration of organ donations. So if you have a look at the organ donations from the different countries around the world, this is Europe really, you have a look and you can see that some countries have small organ donations, others have almost 100% organ donation. The fascinating thing about this is if you look on the extreme right and the extreme left, Sweden and Denmark, you would think that they're quite similar, but look at the difference in organ donation. You would look at right in the middle, the Germany and Austria, also very similar. Again, similar, when I say similar, we would, in our minds, we think they're similar countries. The difference in organ donation is drastic. You could look at maybe United Kingdom and France. If you look at Netherlands and Belgium, those are similar, but the organ donation is very different. Just by the way, you can see that the Netherlands is the highest of the smaller organ donation countries. And the reason behind that is Netherlands went through a campaign where they wrote a letter to every single household, begging and asking them to join the organ donation campaign. And you know that saying, begging will get you so far, well, it gets you 28% in the Netherlands. But the interesting thing is there's got to be something, because these are similar countries, there's got to be something that is different in the two countries that led to such a huge difference in organ donation. And again, this is a very good illustration of behavioral economics and the power of default. Let me explain to you. When we went into in fact, I'll come back to this in a second. The countries on the right, where you have 100% uptake, when you go in and you register and filling in your forms on organ, just in general, when you're getting your ID and everything, you've either got to tick a box or not tick a box saying you're going to give organ donations. The countries on the right it goes for the default of you opting out or opting in. In other words, by default, the countries on the right that are giving 100%, you are donating your organs unless you tick the box. So people don't check and they join. The other one, you not join and you've got to now tick a box to join. And again, people don't tick, but this time they don't join. And that is just the default. Now, I know there's some aspects around, and I'm sure related to the POPI Act, and the aspects around you can't automatically now opt people in or out. But this just shows and highlights the aspect of the default. We live mostly in default. And if you don't know what to do, we go with the default. We think that not choosing one way or the other is not a choice. We think, well, we don't know what to choose, so we're not going to choose. We'll just let it be. Letting it be is a choice as well. Okay. And a lot of people will use this aspect of the default to manipulate or persuade you to do something. Okay. Here's another aspect is whatever you're doing, you've got to try and make it easier for the person or if you're trying to sell a product, let's put it this way, you're trying to sell a product, you've got to try and make it easy for the person to do business with you. Okay. This is the ease of doing business with South Africa. In 2008, on the scale that they used, and this is from the World Bank, South Africa was rated 32nd of ease of doing business with us. 10 years later, we had dropped to 82nd. It is now difficult to do business with South Africa. When you say with South Africa, it's if you want to bring a company in, it's all the forms, it's the red tape, it's the bureaucracy that you've got to go through in order to do any business with South Africa. The other thing we can look at, let's go back a few years. The biggest, the place where South Africa got the most money in South Africa, the biggest industry in South Africa used to be gold mining. We were number 1 in the world. I think right now we number 7, because I think there are only about 7 or 8 top countries in the world. The next big thing is tourism. What did we do? We came out with that ridiculous law of unabridged birth certificates. What does that do with ease of traveling to South Africa? Is somebody wants to go to South Africa or wants to go, as Americans, they don't know much better. I want to go to Africa. So they come and the travel agent says, let's go to South Africa. And they're cool with that until they come down, they say, oh, if you're traveling with kids, you need an unabridged birth certificate. What the heck is an unabridged birth certificate? For an American, they have no idea what that is. They also don't know how to get it. It's just adding another level of complexity to coming. They say, well, let's just go to Kenya. Let's go somewhere else where they don't need this abridged birth certificate. And that little ruling dropped, the last stats I read was dropped the tourism to South Africa by 30%. 30%. You take your biggest money spinner in the country and you cut it by 30%. The COVID has now come in and done even more damage. But hopefully, we as a country, as companies, even as individuals, you've got to change the way you relate to people and allow people to deal with you easier. That's a key aspect. Are we really doing things? Look at your business and say, am I making it easier for people to do business with me? Or am I making it more difficult? And whatever you're doing, have a look at that. It's from when people phone my telephone, is there someone to answer? When people click onto my website, is it set up? Can they communicate with me? Is there someone there to kind of like virtually smile at them? Or do they feel like they're lost? This was South Africa. This over here was Rwanda. In the same time period where we went from number 32 down to 80 something, Rwanda went from 143 down to 29th. They have made it a lot easier to do business, and they're thriving. They're growing as a country. In fact, I heard of somebody, there was a comedian, a Malawian comedian, funny enough, who went to Rwanda and he did a whole skit around. He arrived in Rwanda and he didn't realize that Rwanda was in Europe because it was the first country in Africa that didn't make you pay extra for plastic bags. You don't have to spend another 10 cents or 50 cents for a plastic bag, which doesn't have any impact anyway. They banned plastic bags. Now, a lot of countries, when you travel through Africa, there's plastic lying on the side of the road. It looks terrible. Rwanda had none of that. They had cleaned it all up. They had taken the emphasis on let's make it easy to do business with us. Part of that is cleaning things up, and that's the way you do it. There was a country, the DRC, I traveled to quite a few years ago, and we complain about potholes in the road. They had some road in the potholes. It was so bad. But Rwanda's managed to change it. Make it easier, make it better. We say, my door's always open. Are you this kind of person? Where your therapist says, you need to let people in, and they say, well, the door's not locked. But no one's going to grab that door handle. So when we're doing it, let's do it properly without trying to fake it. One of the big aspects, anybody who's been to university, who's studied economics, has learnt about the supply and demand, and we know the supply and demand curve. But there's an aspect where we talk about the fallacy of supply and demand. And the truth is that price is not only related to how much of the product is available. So pure economics tells you that if there's lots of a commodity available, prices will drop. If it becomes rare, prices will go up. There is an element to that, but there's also the human irrationality that links to that. And we use the concept of anchoring. So what is anchoring? Anchoring is where you anchor a particular price to something. The first time you see a price, that becomes your anchor, and then everything becomes relative to that. So, I mean, I know my dad many, many years ago was in the estate agency business. He used to sell houses. And I remember as a kid, we used to drive around and he used to say, sold that house, sold that house, sold that house, sold that house. He had sold a lot of houses. And I said to him, like, how come you sold so many houses? And he says he does very good work up front, asking people what exactly they want. He knows in his mind, he mentally went through the database of houses and he knew which house they would buy. And I said, oh, well, that's easy. Then you just take them there and they buy it. And he said, no. He said, I would take them to another house first that was similar, but not as good. Now, not that I doubt, I know my dad didn't know behavioral economics. It wasn't a thing then. But he was using behavioral economics. He was using the concept of relativity, and he was using the concept of anchoring. He was anchoring them to a certain house, not exactly what they wanted at the same price. And now they come to a house, same price, and this is exactly what they want. And that's how we use anchoring. The first thing you see is where your focus is on. And they've done a couple of examples, and I've done this in many of my classrooms. And I'll show you an example. I have just given a list of this to students. And if we had more time, I'd do this with you, but we unfortunately don't. But I asked people to write down the last 3 digits of their cell phone number. So my last 3 digits would be 081. So then they write down next to each of these items 81 Rand, and then you say, do you think this item is worth more or less than 81 Rand in my case? And if it's worth less, how much is it worth? If it's worth more, how much? So I'm looking at each of these items and I'm comparing it to my own cell phone number. And everybody would do the same. And here are the results. And this is a standard result that I've had from most of the classes. The green is anyone who had the last 3 digits of their cell phone number ending in less than 251. And the blue is those that had their cell phone numbers ending in greater than 751. And as you can see, all of them, in this case, all of them, if your number ended with a greater number, you would be willing to pay more for that item. And this is just highlighting that aspect of anchoring. Fascinating. It's worked every single time on all the different groups. There's only one category where sometimes there's a slight difference, and that's the cheap wine. The cheap wine sometimes differs. But other than that, it seems to always work like this. And it's just the fact that you're anchoring it to something as insignificant as maybe your cell phone number. There's also a story, and the story comes from Dan Ariely's book, Predictably Irrational, where he talks about a story of somebody who found these black pearls. Now, pearls are traditionally white. And he found these black pearls and he tried to sell them, and no one wanted them because they were a different color and obviously inferior. And eventually he tried to get rid of them, and he got rid of them at like, I don't know, 5 cents a pearl, something ridiculous. The person who bought them took these pearls and he placed them in the shop next to the most expensive items. He gave it a very high price. And then he gave some of these pools to some of the celebs to wear it, like the Oscars on the red carpet, etc. All of a sudden, people saw the celebs wearing this. They went to the shop. It was at an enormous price. And now people wanted it. And from becoming kind of the inferior, just the placement of them relative to other things and with celebs made them sought after. And this is what we have to be very, very careful of, where we might want something just because others have it. Those of you got kids, and if you remember back when they were young, often kids are, I want that. Why? Because my friends have got it. Or you gave that to the one kid, now I want it. Even they never even wanted it, but now they want it because others wanted it. Another example of this is something like this, where you got people trying to sell an event. So this was an event with Robert Kiyosaki coming to talk. You could buy a ticket to this event, and there are 3 different prices. You got the general, VIP, and the diamond. The general admin, it is buy one, get one free. So if you buy now, so it's telling you buy right now, you get another one free. And free is a concept in behavioral economics, which is kind of like there's no downside to having something for free. Not only that was the price, it's now this price. And you can go to the event. Then slightly up from that, or double from that, you get the VIP. And then you have something that is much, much more expensive. For 8,000, you get this. And if you look at the difference, it's just you have a meet and greet and maybe a picture with Robert Kiyosaki. So you're paying the extra amount just for a picture. This, first of all, is what we call asymmetric pricing, because it doesn't go from 1 to 2 to 3. It goes 1 to 2 to 8. Okay. The anchoring is the 8. Personally, I would put the diamond first. Anchor at 8, then the rest looks even cheaper. But this now, the diamond looks very expensive. It was going to be 20,000. It's only 8,000. So maybe you kind of like, wow, there's a good deal in that. But which one do you think they're trying to get you to pay here? And most people would say the VIP. Their main focus is on selling VIP. And the answer is no. The answer, and you will see a lot of this kind of presentation for either you going to a seminar or you are buying an option of a program on the internet where you can download the program, and you've got these 3 options. Most people think they're trying to sell the middle one. Often it's not. In this particular case, the focus is on the general. Telling you you're going to have to pay 1,000 Rand to come to this. My choice then is 1,000 Rand or nothing. Do I really want to go? Is it worth 1,000 Rand for me to go? If that was the only option, that would be my choice. They've changed the choice in your mind in that I'm going to a thing that would be worth 20,000. Remember, this is 20,000. It's been discounted, but it's worth 20,000. I'm paying less than 1,000 Rand. In fact, I'm paying less than 500 because I can bring someone for free. All they're trying to do is to get people in, to get the volume there. And then they'll sell other products as well. But so this is a very good illustration of nudging you just to come and to buy it in the first place. Okay. Here's another example of this. This one, the main one is in the middle. It's a special deal. This was for Express VPN. If you want the product, you can buy the 1 month or the 2nd month. Can you see just even the color is nudging you? Grayed out. We already used to, if something's grayed out, it's not available. It's almost telling us that's not available. That's not available. This is green. And you get 3 months free. You pay for it, but you get the 3 months free. And they tell you in red, it's the most popular. This is what we call herding. Herding is where if one person does it, other people follow. Also, there they've got the save 49%. I'm not sure, maybe some of you know, I don't know why I've seen a lot of things in America where they say save 49%. Personally, I would rather have it 51%, like have it over 50%. There might be some legal things. I've seen a few of them where they're below the 49%. And then they give you here, big in green, 30-day money back guarantee, as if this is the only one that you get it with. But if you look at the others, they also have 30-day money back guarantee. Okay, so again, another illustration of this and making the one that they want you to go for much more appealing than what the other ones look like. You can go for the others, but really, do you want to go for gray when green is better? And they're telling you that this is what people are going for. We have also what we call the decoy effect. And the decoy effect is like when you're buying iPhones, they're trying to convince you to move away from something else to the iPhone. And then you think, okay, I'll go for the cheaper one. But when you have a look at the relative pricing, you're paying $12 per gig, where here you're paying $3 per gig. Again, when you look at the price, you first anchor on the cheaper one, much cheaper to go for this. It's expensive. iPhone's more expensive than other phones, but it's just a little bit more. I'll go for this at 800, but you land up paying 950 because you are now explained like you'd be crazy to spend this per gig when you get this per gig. Again, bringing you in and then nudging you towards something else. Guys, I'm sharing this with you so that you become aware of how we are led to make irrational decisions, but also it's something that you could look for yourself and for your businesses is, could you use this in your own way? And as long as you make sure that it's a nudge, not a shove, you're not shoving somebody into something that they wouldn't want to do. Here's an example of in Rosebank, you know where Starbucks is, across the road, they're building this apartment block, and it's called the Median. I mean, I don't know why somebody would call something the Median, which median actually just means average. I'm staying in the average. But anyway, they're selling the apartment blocks for 1.7 million. Is that a good deal or not? If you see that in your own mind, you now got to say, well, what am I comparing it to? And you have to make your own comparison. I've actually cut off the bottom bit because that's not the way it looked. This is the way it looked. A penthouse is 7.2 million. All of a sudden, when you're comparing 1.7 to 7.2, it's a massive difference. And so now, wow, these apartments must be good because the penthouse is 7.2. Even if they were never going to build those penthouses. So this is kind of like, if we were going to build a penthouse, that's what it would cost, etc. But it's giving you and making it easier for you to see the relativity of the prices.
Sorry, David, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, yes.
Just, I'm guilty of all these things, everything. Does it mean I'm stupid and I'm foolish, or I'm being taken advantage of, or am I gullible? What?
It means you're human. I'm glad to tell you you're human. This works because it works on everybody, on 99% of people. And the reason I'm talking about this is that we become aware of it, and then we can make our own choices. For that conference, yes, I might want to go VIP, or I might want to go, and I'll go, but it's my choice. I'm not making an irrational decision. That's the whole point behind this. So no, you're being absolutely human. But
David, if we start to learn about all these things that they try and do, surely that will reduce the amount of spending in the economy because there's not so many, I wouldn't say fool people around, but we know what's going on. We know we're being shoved or nudged or whatever, and we won't fall for that.
So I know I'm being nudged and shoved, and I still fall for.
We still fall. Yeah, that's a good point. And we still fall for it. I do that all the time. I don't know.
I'll go for a cup of coffee, and I want a small cup of coffee, but it's only R2 extra for the big one. I'll buy the big one. I don't even want that extra coffee, but it's, you know, for that extra, the return is, you know, so we do it all the time, but at least now you're more aware of it.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. So if you like that, you're going to like this, because this is on the internet if you're buying a product. So I looked at this thing about productivity, and I looked at this, it's called a habit tracker. So you can track your habits. Now I want to I want to go through a couple of things to show you how all the different concepts they used, behavioral economics concepts, because it wasn't just one nudge, it's a lot of different nudges. And you might identify with this and see this. So first of all, as you click, so I'm over here and I say, I'm not sure if I want it. Let me just have a look. So I hit open. Comes up with this. Try 7 days. Okay, I can try it for 7 days. There's no downside to that. And it start my free trial. I can start it for free. And it then says that it's $30 a year. Okay, so I can do my maths. I can work out 30 times, what's it, 14 now, and work that out. And I think, not sure, but you know what, it's for free. Let me hit the free button for just for 7 days. So that's your first thing, those 7 days. This is your nudge. This is nudging you to try it, because otherwise I might think, nah, not sure I want it. But hey, I can try it for 7 days and then I'll make a decision. Start your free trial. This is also behavioral economics related. People love the word free, anything for free. If you go to Clicks, for instance, Clicks have a concept where they say, what's it? Get 3 for the price of 2. That's okay. Rather say buy 2, get the third one free. That would be much better, because then you're getting that word free. What else are they doing? Here is your anchor. The anchor is $30. I'm now thinking, is it worth $30? I'll try it for 7 days. And I can start my free trial. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to assess this to see, is it worth the $30?
Yes.
I now click on this. All of a sudden, it tells me, hey, you can save $49 or 49% straight away. And now you can get it. If you go now, you can try it for 7 days, but then you're going to pay $30. If you do it right now, it's only $15. Now it's a different ballgame. They got me in on the aspect that I can try it for free. They're now telling me, forget about the free. That's 7 days. Just buy it now. And this over here, this $59.29 is actually a clicking top. What's it? This is a tongue twister for the morning. A clicking clock, where it's counting down as you're going down. Now you've like under pressure. I've only got an hour in which to decide if I want to make use of that.
Sorry, David, I got fooled. I can tell you now with the spin writer. There's this thing called a spin writer. You know, you can take your paper that you're writing for a journal, and you can, because you know the similarities, and you stick it in here, and it changes it to make it unique. So that's exactly what you said. It's free trial for a week, $49 and all that, and then it says to you, oh, you can save, you know, if you do it now. So I didn't know what to buy. I didn't know whether to buy it or not. I thought I was being, and then I went and bought it. What nudged me was that extra saving. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to buy it. I wanted, but it looked expensive. But then they came up with this thing, and I knew that they gave me a huge nudge. I promise you. It was brilliant. I thought on their part. So
I think we should write the Jewish version of it, nudge, rather than nudge. So, and that's exactly what the fascinating thing with this is, If you go out of it and you come back 2 days later, it'll give you the same offer again. So what we think is a nudge and a one-time opportunity isn't. Okay.
It's one time for the day.
It's one time for that minute, yeah. And the 49% is re-emphasizing. It's like, just in case you missed it on the price, we're re-emphasizing of what it is.
In the end, it still cost me $99, what I would have bought it for normally. It was just complex.
So
they nudged me quite good.
Yeah. So this is where it's a nudge or a shove. If afterwards you feel like you got value for your money, even though they prompted you to do it, but you feel good about it, that's a nudge. If you're feeling, as I'm hearing you're saying that you're upset about this, that's a shove, and that's not good for long-term business. Long-term business is on relationships. And most good businesses are about annuity income, and they're not going to get annuity income from you. So again, you can use the same tool, and I'm trying to think of analogy, but you can use a hammer to hammer in a nail, or you can use a hammer to attack somebody. It's not the tool that you're using, it's how you're using it. So again, these are tools. If it's used in the right way, they're good. If you're using it in the wrong way, then it's not good at all. And then obviously that clock is the FOMO, where they fear of losing out, and you'll make an irrational decision because if I don't make the decision now, it's gone for good, etc. I love this cartoon. It's kind of like how to stop impulse buying. And the person says, I've got to have this. And that's what we do. That's what we do continuously. So I just want to show you something else, guys. How many green balls do you see in this picture? Anyone?
4.
4.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
6.
It's obvious that there are 4 green balls. But if you have a look at them, if I expand that picture out, all the balls are the same color. If you look in between, if you so if you have a look between the lines, you can see that they're all the same color, but it's the lines on top that make them look different. This, for me, is a massive illustration of our biases. We are biased by things. In South Africa, one of the things that we biased by because of the past is maybe the color of people's skin. Maybe we biased by, after that, your political party. We even biased by the soccer team that you support. You could be biased by the way somebody dresses. And we all say those people or those things are like that. Underneath, they're all identical. It's just the things that are on top that make them look like they're different. Yeah. So one of the things is the biases that we get biased by things, and it's not real. We've created a rule that might have worked for one thing but doesn't work for everything. And this is
David, what did you expect from us? What do you expect? We all saw 4 green balls. We didn't see anything else.
100%. But that's what I'm saying. That it's it's
just that's the way we are.
That's the way we are. I mean, how can I predict that you're going to say 4 green balls? Because I know that that's the way we are. And it's about you've got to go against what you think is reality. That's the thing. We think we know what's real and we follow that. But sometimes you've got to step back and say, is that true? And we use the availability heuristic a lot. And we make mental shortcuts. So things that were in the that we've had in the news lately are things that stand out bigger. So interesting, I heard that more people right now are dying of heart attacks than of COVID. But what is worse COVID, because that's in the news. That's what's on our mind continuously. Yeah, so it's just whatever's the biggest thing, that's where our focus is. And it's about us to decide, what do we want our focus to be on? Where do we want our focus to be? That's now becomes our choice. So all these things will persuade us in different ways, but it's for us to try and determine where our focus should be. Again, another trick that people would use buying stuff on the internet: you buy a product, if the product could be a certain price, and then you get free shipping. Or the product is a price and you pay for shipping, or you get the product for free and then you got to pay shipping. As you can see, all three alternatives, the price is exactly 30 Rand. Which one do people go for the most? If they've tested this by putting up different adverts, the bottom one sells a lot more than the rest. It's like, yeah, I get the product for free. And then you think, it's for free and I can't get it for free and they got to pay for the shipping. So I'll pay for the shipping. But it's the same price. It's just putting it in another package. Can you see that? And I think for me, how this gets us, the word free, be very careful when people say it's for free. That is just to lure you in. We think there's no consequence. For the mouse, as you can see in that picture at the bottom there, giving him free cheese is a trap, literally. Okay. Again, be aware of these things. So I want to play you. I don't know if you remember this thing with Pick and Pay with about 5-6 years ago. It was Stickies. So here's their advert. I'll play it and then I'll talk to you about it.
They're sticky, they're squishy, and now they've invaded South Africa. The amazing Stickies are here at Pick and Pay. Collect all 24. You get one free sticky with every 150 Rand spent in store. Trade them, stick them anywhere, and play the craziest games. So let the fun begin. Stickies, now at Pick and Pay.
So that was 6 years ago. Can you believe it? And now we've got these Stickies. These were them. You could get all these different type of Stickies. I've still got some. They don't even stick anymore. But what were they doing? You spend 150 Rand and then you get one of these useless little toys that now we collected. And then we had to get we were missing the one and not the other, and they had them in packets that you couldn't see through the packet, so you don't know which one you're getting. And so you get duplicates. I mean, I know myself that when I was buying some, if I'd spent 120 Rand, I'd like try and find something I could spend another 30 Rand so I could bring this home for the kids. This is not even worth 5 cents, but I'd spend 30 Rand to get something and it would be a duplicate anyway. And so if you got a unique one every single time, your total cost would be 3,600 Rand. And no one got a unique one every time. Okay. So a very big concept with this, I'm going to end with this and then a message at the end. But we often discount the future. So from a behavioral economics point of view, we discount the future. We focus on what's in front of us now and not what's in the horizon. And we often make short-term decisions which have long-term consequences. We often want to achieve what's on the horizon, but we get fooled by what's right in front of us here. You want to be healthy. So you want to stop smoking. And on the box, it actually says that the Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is dangerous for your health, but we still have it. And we do these mistakes in many different ways, repeatedly, even though we know it's not bad. I want to end off with one more message, and I need to just jump ahead to that message very quickly. And this is kind of the message at the end, is we got to learn from our mistakes. So, Stephen, you said you make this mistake all the time. We all do.
Yeah.
But how do we get around it? Number one is you got to doubt your intuition. We have a gut feel. We need to say, well, is that gut feel right? First of all. Number two, in business specifically, we need to experiment more. We need to try different things. We think something will work. Try it. We think something else might work. Try it. Businesses need to experiment more and more. We don't do that enough. We don't doubt ourselves enough, and we don't experiment enough. And when I say doubt yourself, it's doubting our intuition. Like when we say, I don't think that will work, I'm not going to try it. Try it anyway. See if it works. So guys, I'm going to leave that there. Any comments, any questions related to this?
How's it, David? No, just from our side, we didn't think you could get better than last week, but this was great as well. So thank you.
Okay. So Sean, thank you. And the next week's even better, but there's a price now that I'm charging for the next one. It's $10,000. No.
But you get a free